Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and that channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Wow. The autumn of 2025 is shaping up to be just a fantastic month. I've got presently in front of me a list of all the new deliveries at the Fountain Pen Therapy Studios. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 9 different writing instruments. I've got 1 new paper that I want to introduce to the channel. And I've got a couple of inks as well. So we got plenty to do, folks. Plenty to do, folks. So I'm not going to introduce all of these products all at once. I've got to, as they say, pace myself. But you get to see a few. Get to see a few in this particular episode. So without any further ado, before I go play my golf game, Fountain Pen Therapy presents the weekly recap for October the 5th, 2025. Okay, so as usual, for my first segment, let's see what's new in the pen market. Let's start with AliExpress. Let's go to my computer, and we shall see what we've got. Okay, first pen I'm taking a look at, and I've got to tell you, I've ordered it already. Natami appears to have a couple of pens that they're advertising. This Natami vacuum filling says number 6, titanium. Now, I don't know what's titanium. Is it the nib? Is it really a number 6? When I take a look at the nib, sure looks like a number 5 to me, but maybe it's because it's inserted quite a bit. It looks like a fun kind of pocket pen, and at $28, I figured I'd take a dive for you guys, and hopefully it'll come soon, and we'll review it as soon as we get it. In addition, there's another Natami, again, Natami vacuum filling fountain pen, number 6 nib, titanium. Again, it's titanium. I don't know what's titanium. Is it the nib? Is it the pen? But look at the price, $276.68. Why, is my question. And looks like they're going high-end all of a sudden. There is another Natami. Here it is. 1 second. Yeah, this one. That's going for $140. Kind of a wooden pen. It's elaborate. It's got some resin there. It's got, some nice trimmings. But $140, I'm not sure. But just thought I mentioned that Natami appears to be in the picture now all of a sudden. But the only one that's going to attract my purchasing dollar is that pocket pen. Next, Wingsung A9658. I've never seen this pen, frankly. Is it a real Wingsung? Is it something else? It's got apparently a long knife nib, 1.0 nib. Now, can we see the nibs? Here they are. Here are the pens. I've never seen this pen. It's at $30. I may very well order it just to see what's up and what's down, so to speak. here's the nib, the long knife nib. You any guys have this? Have you seen it? Or is this like an old pen that I've never seen before and that all of a sudden has attracted my dollar or attracted my attention, I should say? It's on 365-day stationery. They're usually pretty much up to date. So that was that. What else have I got here? Oh, I've got the Wingsung 630 with this hammer pattern. See that? I'm not sure it's worth $75, frankly, just because of that hammer pattern on it. But if anybody really goes for those types of things, I thought I'd mention it to you. What else have I got? The Tammy we've done. Yeah. Oh, Montegrappa has this pen that they call, where's the name? Here it is. Montegrappa Elmo 02 Plus. I don't know what plus means. Apparently it's got a new piston filler system. Did the old Elmo have a cartridge converter? I'm not sure. Maybe that's what makes it plus. It just looks like a nice, juicy, big pen. I always wanted to get an Elmo. It kind of resembles some of the more expensive Montegrappa pens. The Mia, the 1936, I think it is, that I've been trying to get my hands on some of the, auction sites. They're always too expensive, but thought I'd mention this, Montegrappa Elmo 2. 307 euros, that's about more than, 350, 370 US and what, 450 Canadian, roughly, and maybe even more. I'm doing rough calculation. I know some of you have challenged me on my exchange. Don't, they're just approximations. Don't take them literally. What else is new? Pen Goulet has got coming soon these new Alchemy inks. I think they're new. I haven't seen this before. And in terms of a pen, they have this Tom Essen Charles pens. I've never seen these before. I don't know if this is kind of a new independent pen maker. This blue has kind of attracted my attention at 165. I think they have Yowo nibs. But I thought, I'd mention it. Tom Essen Charles. I've never heard of these guys before, but maybe you have, so I thought I'd mention. So that's it for what's new, and at least that's what's attracted my attention. Stay tuned for Canopus paper, by the way. I've ordered it, and it should be on its way any day now, and we'll review that next week. But that's what's new, I think, in terms of paper. Canopus paper from Japan, supposed to take over or replace the Cosmo Air Light. Stay tuned. I think I'll have that for you next week's recap. Okay, stay tuned for the next segment. Okay, so what's new in the Fountain Pen Therapy Studios? As it's become a custom, I think we're going to start with some paper, then we're going to look at some ink. We're going to swatch those inks on the paper that I want to show you, and then we'll take a look at my writing instruments that I've been delivered to the studios this week, do some writing, and etc., etc. So let me go to my overhead camera and let's look at what I've got for you in terms of paper. As promised, I want to do a showdown between the HOBONICHI Techo 2026. That's the new HOBONICHI for the upcoming year. They have promised that the Sanson Tomo River paper in that new HOBONICHI has been, open quotes, close quotes, fixed. So they've promised us that I think they've gotten rid of the problems they had last year. We've got Chinese horse here, which is, I guess, the next year for the Chinese. It's the KINBOR imitation of the HOBONICHI, which really is does essentially the same thing. It's got this paper, this Bachuan paper that's mysterious. I've done a lot of research, and I'm getting all kinds of information. Some people say it's just another way of it's just the Chinese translation of Tomo River Sanson. Other people say it's their own version of it. I can't give you a definitive answer just because you see these sources on the internet, on Reddit, etc., and you really don't know who you're talking to, right, or who you're reading. But having said that, I think there's nothing like actually putting our fingers, our pens, and our inks onto these two notebooks, and just to see for ourselves what gives. I got to tell you, I like this new cover on this year's KINBOR. As you can see, it does, and we've seen this before, I don't want to be repetitive, it does offer very similar formats, okay? The HOBONICHI is color-coded, offers their own peculiar things. The KINBOR is just a gray outlines here. But I think I don't want to do an in-depth comparison of the notebooks per se. It's a daily planner. It's got weeks. It's got months. What I'm really interested to show you is the paper. So without any further ado, I'm going to show you the inks that I want to swatch, and then we'll take it from there. Be right back. Okay, so we're back. We're all set up for the ink swatching. And I thought I'd do something different this week. Many of you mentioned shimmering inks and why I had kind of given up on the shimmering inks. In fact, one of you wrote me a very long comment suggesting all kinds of solutions to be able to enjoy shimmering inks in fountain pens a little more, and what he's done and how he's worked on, ebonite feeds, etc., etc. And maybe I'm going to get into that one day in a little more depth. But he's introduced some ideas, and he made me realize that maybe I've given up on these shimmering inks a little too quickly. And I've got a real nice collection that I could share with you. So I thought that we'd change it up for that reason. And for another reason is that if you really want to test the performance of those two notebooks with that Tomo River paper, essentially Tomo River paper in both, and kind of compare which one kind of brings out these inks more, then I thought that maybe we'd get some really, really nice performing inks. Here's what I got for you. They're all WEARINGEUL inks. The first one is Stars in America. As you can see, there's going to be some wonderful shimmer there. From the Earth to the Moon, again, great shimmer. Dracula, one of my favorite shimmering inks. There you go. And of course, For Whom the Bell Tolls, where is the, I'm not sure there's that much. Well, you can see a little bit there, but so here are the four inks. So let's get to work. I'm going to have to shake them up, each one nicely, before we do any swatching. But now, I'm running out of loose pages in these two notebooks. So we're going to do the swatching on the January the 1st page, just because I know I'm not going to be making any entries on January the 1st at the office. I won't even be at the office. So there you have it. Okay, so we're all set. Stars in America. No, Stars in Autumn, not America. Got to really shake these up because it's been a while since I've used these inks. So, and I want to make sure that we get it all in. Here we go. This one's got a broken cap, so I have to be careful. Should have been careful before I shook it, but okay, let's get going before all the shimmer kind of disappears. It's a beautiful blue. Now, let me just write here. Whoop. I'm in a very uncomfortable position. Very nice. Boy, I can really see the shimmer. Kind of silverish. That would be nice to be able to write with a normal fountain pen with that ink. I've got to find a solution. I think that viewer who wrote to me to suggest that there are ways to be able to use, you know, shimmering inks, so long as you get the right nibs, the right feed, and maybe even have to play around with the feed a little bit. Okay, next, From the Earth to the Moon. So far as a swatching is concerned, they got a very similar feel, if you know what I mean. Let me just wipe out that excess water. So, just to be fair, we'll dip it again. Amazing. This ink, when it went first on the paper, appeared to be kind of a watery, lighter toned ink. And as it's drying, we could see the shimmer kind of taking over. Very interesting. Very interesting ink, I must admit. You see, that's the fun part about our hobby, is that we buy all these products and sometimes we kind of shelve them. And it's always nice to bring them back, resurrect them, as they say, and be surprised once again. You know, I bought these inks maybe months and months ago. I bought them probably when they just came out. And haven't used them really since. May actually even have done or reviewed them maybe, either on a recap or for some other reason. And you kind of forget about them. I remember this Dracula being very, very nice. So let's just see what this gives. Wow. So as you can see, when it first gets onto the paper, you kind of get the sense it's just a standard, very bright ink. But what happens is that as it dries, it takes on a different look. I'm just concerned that I may be spelling WEARINGEUL wrong. Hopefully I'm not. If I am, don't correct me. I'll correct myself. I don't know if there's an E here, but Dracula. In fact, I'll take a look at that right away. Do I have anything that has the name WEARINGEUL on it, just to make sure I'm not spelling it wrong? No, it's EUL. I thought maybe there was an I there somewhere, but that's fine. So far, so good, folks. For whom the bell tolls. Isn't that a great name for an ink? It's a great name for anything, actually, but especially for ink. I don't know if there's much shimmer in this one, now that I'm looking at it. Wow, that's a dark green. Very dark. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there isn't that much here. Well, if there isn't, it's still a very, very, very sharp ink that will test this paper. remember reading this book. I believe it was in high school, by Hemingway. Wow, very sharp inks. I gotta tell you, and that brings me to, before maybe we just let these drinks, inks dry. I would really appreciate if you guys can give me some advice as to how, as I mentioned, I've already had that person or that viewer give me some very good advice. And he's got all kinds of suggestions. In fact, I've kind of pasted his commentary in a Word document so I can keep it for future reference. But if you guys have any ideas to share as to how I can get some of these inks to be used in some of our pens, you know the collection I have. By now you've seen that I have all kinds of pens, all kinds of nibs, gold nibs, titanium, steel, Chinese, non-Chinese. You know, I think the key here is to get a feed that will allow that shimmer to penetrate and not clog it. So that other viewer was suggesting that in the ebonite feed, especially, for example, Fountain Pen Revolution has these ebonite feeds where you can make sure that the slit on that feed in the back side goes from the top to the bottom. So there's a free flow. And you've got to get, I guess, a pen that can feed the feed, if you will. And probably, I would imagine that you would want to use a bigger nib. It's just logic that I'm using, but it's not scientific. And maybe that's not the case, because the slit, whether it's a fine nib or whether it's a stub, is the same, right? But maybe we got to get you got to get that ink going in a nib that has where the slit in the actual nib is a little wider and not tight. I wouldn't use it in, for example, some of the Andean extra fine nibs, which are really, really thin and really tight. But having said that, if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. We'll let all this dry up and we'll come back and we'll see what differences, if any, these two notebooks give us. Okay, the inks are nice and dry, so let's take a look at them. I got to tell you, it's pretty close. So I think we are dealing with the same paper. Let's take a look at this. Look how beautiful that gray is really working out. Isn't that nice? Stars in autumn. You can see all the sheen there. Really picking out. The camera's a little light here. Let me just maybe come down here. You can see yeah, I want to see you. If I put it against the light, you'll see all the sheening and the shimmering. Take a look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And I think you get the same thing from this. Very little difference in my view. In fact, if we just put them one next to the other and maybe lift them both so that they go against the light, you can see we're talking about really the same. There's no feathering, by the way, nothing whatsoever. What does it show on the other side? Let's just... thickness of the paper is pretty similar. Look at this, almost, oh, you can't see it. An almost duplicate. There's a little bit of shading there, but that's not fair because it's a little darker, okay? So I'm not shading, a little more see-through. There's really no bleed-through at all. The ghosting is very similar in both. I think we're dealing with the same paper. So I'm going to venture to say that what's in the KINBOR is Tomoe River Sanson. That's my educated guess. And given that you'll find reviews that will give you all kinds of opinions, in my view, this KINBOR, it's got the Sanson. It's looking really good. So I'm going to stick to that. And you know what, folks? I recommend this KINBOR. Excellent, excellent purchase. Stay tuned for my next segment. Okay, so what do I got for you in terms of writing instruments? As I mentioned to you, there's quite a few pens that came in this week. It seemed like they all came in all at the same time. I had some coming from Katowiki. I bid on some pens and won. I had some from AliExpress. I had some from Leonardo. I had some from various other places, and stay tuned. And I had to kind of choose. So we're going to kind of mix it up here. I was tempted to show you them all, as usual, but I'm excited about all of them. But, you know, we got to make choices. So let's go to my overhead camera, and I'll show you the first one. This is a Hero pen. Now, I don't believe I really have... I mean, I have one Hero pen, which is kind of a vintage old... They call it a vintage. I forget the number. It's not really indicative of what they're doing these days. And I've always been kind of tempted to buy one. People say they have some nice nibs, they have some nice products. I know they have products, you know, with gold nibs, etc. And I've always hesitated. Then this particular pen drew my attention just because it looks like it has a mechanism just like the Pilot Justice, where you can actually control this piece of the nib, and we'll show you what this is. And it kind of tempted me, so I said, you know what? It doesn't cost as much as the Justice. Let me just check it out and see what happens. I don't know if I'm going to do an actual detailed review of this, but so I'm not going to show you everything. One first disappointing thing is that it didn't come with a converter. I thought that these days, even the Chinese would accommodate you, but it does come with several long cartridges. It has a little branding ticket there, and it's got some, you know, instructions, guarantee, etc. So we can deal with that when we do our detailed review. But I did want to show you the pen. The second disappointing thing is that it's, you know, those typical old-style Chinese metal pens, you know, elaborate, but kind of clunkers, I call them, you know. The feel is substantive. It's heavy because you can feel right away that there's metal in this pen. I do like the matte finish on this thing for some of the trimmings, but I wanted to show you the nib, which is really, and there it is. And as you could see, it has that mechanism. Now, the second thing is that mechanism doesn't really work properly. You have to really struggle to get it to turn on you. And the verdict is still out as to whether or not it does anything. But that's the first pen I got. So because I'm not sure I'm going to do that I may do a review on this thing, and I still want to play around with it because I'm not sure that mechanism really gives us anything. But if you're thinking about buying this pen, put a stop on it. That's my recommendation until I decide what I'm going to do. It's not a priority. It's been around. It's going to be around, I think. So don't order it. Or my recommendation is I wait for my review, or I may actually, in a subsequent recap, do a more detailed analysis of this pen. I just need more time to play around with it because so far it's disappointing. You'll see the nib writes well, but I'm not sure that I get anything different by moving that piece up and down, so which is disappointing. Having said that, that's the first acquisition that I made, or that was delivered to me this week. The second one, of course, and maybe this came first, was this, and you've seen the review. If you haven't, please check it out. I will leave it down in my description. Sort of quick reference is this Vacuum V800, which is just a gorgeous pen. I've got to tell you, really, really nice. And in that regard, one of you asked whether or not the resin on this, and they do have an amber one, is really similar to the resin that we see on the Majon M800. There are differences, but I agree with you that it does kind of resemble in terms of style with that chatoyancy, and I've got a feeling that the V800 that comes in amber is very similar to this. So yes, there is some resemblance. Now, does it come from the same place? I'm not sure. But there you have it. And funny enough, they both have 800 in their name. So is it meant to kind of reflect the same thing? I'm not sure. These days, very difficult to say with some of these Chinese pen makers. But I think Asvine is pretty much doing its own thing. Beautiful pen, I got to tell you. Really enjoyed it all week. Very, very nice. In my review, I mentioned something about the cap here kind of being loosey-goosey, as I said, and that I didn't like it, because it kind of moves. And some of you corrected. He says, well, you need this thing to have a little bit of slack so that it doesn't, so when you move it, there's a give, in other words. If it's too rigid, then you had run the risk of maybe snapping it. So that lack of rigidity in this cap is a design feature. Thank you very much. I'm not an engineer. When I saw it rattling a little bit, I thought maybe there was something loose there. But another commentary is that this cap, when you cap it, there's a little bit of give in the cap here. You can feel it. I think if you close it a little tighter, it becomes a little tighter, but that was another concern that I had not raised. But there you have it. In terms of the vacuum fill, I think that the vacuum in the V126, in the V200, and in this one, is not as performing as some other vacuum fillers, especially one that I'm going to show you in a second. But at the end of the day, I think you can get a pretty good fill on the second try. And if worse comes to worse, the beauty of this thing is that you can always remove the section and fill it in like a Japanese filler, if you are, or Japanese piston filler, and eyedropper it that way. And you can get as much as you want. But I think with a second kick at the cat, so to speak, you'll be able to get a kind of a fill that goes up to there. Some have had less success than others based on the comments, and look, it varies. But I'm sure that applies to many vacuum fillers. My Pilot 823, frankly, is not a great filler. Not for that category of pen in any event. It always takes a couple of kicks to get it, to fill up more. So I don't think it should be a major criticism of this pen, because it is otherwise a beautiful pen. I'm looking forward to receiving the completely clear demonstrator version of this pen. I wish I could have gotten the one with the gold trims, but it's available, but it's going to be delivered way back. The delivery date is postponed for some reason, whereas with this one came right away. And the one that I ordered with the silver trims is coming soon, but I think I prefer it when it's clear, so I can see how that piston filler is filling the pen. But that's just my own feeling, because this resin is nice. But now I've got two, I think, very nice pens that I've ordered. The first one is this one, and I'm going to spare you the unboxing because you'll see it in my detailed review. But I finally got the Gravitas Monster. And gentlemen and ladies, or ladies and gentlemen, what a pen this is. This is an absolute joy. I mentioned it in my review. This kind of comes close to a Grail pen, I gotta tell you. It's been in a cart for weeks now, and I decided that I would take the jump. And there it is. Take a look at that beautiful nib. This pen is absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to do just a little bit of writing with it, just to tease you, because I want you to take a look at my review of this pen. It's just, I'm so pleased to add it to my collection. And I think I'm saying nothing It's a spoilers alert, but take a look at why I think this pen is going to be a real nice addition. So those are the three fountain pens. I also got another pen which I'm really, really enjoying. I got to tell you, it's a Rotring 600, and it's the ballpoint pen. I like the packaging, and I just love the way the Rotring looks. And this is a ball pen. Take a look at that. It's in this gold metal, as opposed to the silver. I do also have the pencil, and I got teased by this by Doodlebud, who looked at the Rotring 600 fountain pen, which I believe has been discontinued. And I tried to look for one. I wanted to get one, and they're going for a real premium on eBay. Let me tell you, they're selling it at ridiculous prices. But I think it would be a great idea if Rotring, as Doodlebud suggests, comes out with it again. There is, I think, a Rotring 600 fountain pen, but it looks plasticky. There's different versions, but I'm talking about the classic Rotring 600 fountain pen, you know. And it would be nice if they come out with it. But I'll show you some of the writing here now. Very, very nice. I'm really enjoying this ballpoint. So those are essentially the four. So let's do some writing with these pens, shall we? Taking out my Tomoe River original that I put in this Italian, well, I'm not sure it's Italian, it's probably Chinese, but I bought it in Italy. Case. Here we go. Let's go ahead right away with this Rotring. So this is Rotring 600 ballpoint. In the gold finish. Let me tell you, this is one of the smoothest ballpoints that I've had to deal with in the last few months, that I've kind of rediscovered ballpoints. This could be a tempting go-to pen very often for the office. I got to tell you, it's just, it writes like a gel pen, but it isn't. It's got the, it looks like suspiciously like a Parker refill, but just rebranded for Rotring. I've got to check. Now, is this fine or medium? This is medium. So it does write really, really nicely. But I'm just enjoying this ballpoint. Very rare that I enjoy ballpoints, but this is, I think, the exception. It's just not very expensive. Bought it on Amazon. I'm really enjoying it. So that's number one. Here is, of course, my Asvine V800. That's in the green. Just beautiful nib. Speaking about nibs, there has been some mention of inconsistencies in the lines. I think, you know, before we draw any conclusions, you need a larger sample. I don't know what it is with these Asvines, but every time I order one, I need to have all the colors, or I order more than one. They're just, you know, at their price, they're so tempting. You want to, you know, and I may just end up getting, you know, all four nibs and playing around with them, and maybe we'll do a review just to see whether or not there is a difference. And is there a difference between the gold versions of these number 8 nibs and the silver? Does it affect the line? I'm not sure. Is it quality control issue? Is it the ink that you use? Is it that maybe the tines are slightly off? I'm not sure. I think it's a little too early to tell, but I will let some of the other viewers you know, comment on that, and maybe the viewers as well. What's your experience? Do you find that the line in these ASVines does vary from pen to pen or from nib to nib? And let us know. Whatever it is, if there is a little bit of discrepancy that's attributed to not a perfect quality control, the nibs are still nice. If there's one thing that's constant, is that the rule is that these nibs are smooth, wet, really with a little bit of a bounce, and very little criticism. Will you get a bad one once in a while? Sure. But is it the rule? I think the bad one is the exception. So that's that. In terms of this hero, what is it, 1806, I think they call it. I forgot to mention it. I'll show you that the nib really writes. Now, I haven't written this in a couple of days, so we'll see if it dried up on me. No, it didn't. Hero, I think it's the 1806. I will put on the screen a correction if I'm wrong. Kind of a justice model, if you know what I mean. The nib is absolutely performs really, really nicely. Just a little bit of feedback. Reminds me quite a bit of a Schmidt nib. I'm wondering even in the shape. But I'm not sure that lever going up and down really makes a difference. Is it bouncy? Yes, it is. It's got a little bit of bounce. And now it's got a bounce, and it's at the top part. You see, it's way on top. And it still has bounce. When I lower that, I'm not sure I get a major difference. But we will do a more detailed review of this pen in due course. I haven't quite decided yet. Okay, so that's the hero. And now, just to tease you a little bit, take a look at this. This is just a absolutely gorgeous pen, and this is the. Whoop, sorry, that's me. Gravitas Monster. And of course I got it in broad. And I put in it my favorite color ink these days. Stay tuned for there's a little bit of skip there, but nothing serious. More, you kind of have to get used to the grip. It's a huge grip, a little bit like a 149. And I haven't quite decided if I need to write with this pen with the lower grip or with a higher up grip. And it kind of makes my the comfort level is not perfect yet. Takes a little bit of getting used to. A little bit like my Yunlai 930, the big pen, that number 9 size nib pen. You kind of have to find the comfort zone to write with this pen. But let me tell you, once you find it, you're gone. It's like rev it up, and then it takes you to a different level of experience. So beautiful. I'm so glad I got that. So that is my pen haul for this week. Let me just set it all up so we can take a nice photograph for the B-roll. There you have it. Pen haul. Be right back. Okay, so for the segment that used to be called Currently Inked, these are the pens that I chose last week that I showed you. Instead of repeating the same thing the following week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this segment from now on Pens Revisited. I'm going to deal with some pens that I revisit that may not have been in the Currently Inked, or comments about the pens that I use during the week, and if there's anything in particular that I want to point out, then I think I'd like to point out to you guys I will. And that's what with this segment. So it's going to be called from now on Pens Revisited, if you will. From the last week's Currently Inked, there's a couple of disappointments, which I will call from now on the weekly duds. This is a Conway Stewart, okay? Beautiful Churchill. I mean, this pen is absolutely gorgeous. I do consider it to be one of my grail pens. As you can see, take a look at that. Just beautiful in terms of the pen. But the nib is just an enormous disappointment. Let me just see if it proves me wrong. So this is the Conway. Yeah, there it is. I mean, dry starts, skipping. You know, it doesn't last more than a week, and it just dries up on me, which is just awful. I don't know why. I don't know if there's anything in there that's not right. Is it the nib that needs to be worked at? I'm not sure. If you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. I think that if and when I get to see a nib meister, I'm going to have him take a look at that nib. It's an 18 karat nib, and it's probably the only gold nib that doesn't write when it should write. I'm having this, actually no, there's another one, and this is the Cypress nib. But, you know, this is fairly cheap compared to that Conway Stewart. This is the Cypress. You see, here we go. Just throw it. I mean, I try to give it some, just completely dry. So that's my second disappointment for the week. Don't know why, but there you have it. None of the others really made any bad noise. This was the monster for the week. My Delta, I don't know if there's any ink in here. Yes, there is. This is my Delta Napoli C. 1 of 1 that Nino Marino made especially fountain pen. What am I writing here? Especially for me. This was my go-to, my workhorse this week. Just a beautiful pen with a beautiful nib. And I really enjoyed this Kuru Toga as well. Did some writing with it. So this is the Kuru Toga mechanical pencil. Very nice. So I enjoyed that as well. Nothing to as to the rest. There's nothing really to point out other than, wait a minute, I pulled it out. I had it here. The other workhorse that I need to mention, which is one of my favorite pen makers, is this Aurora. I don't know if there's any more ink here because I used it so much. But yeah, there is. Look at this. Aurora. This is the Talentum. I really recommend this pen. If you can find it, or about $300, you can get this pen with a 14 karat Aurora nib. This is a medium nib, and it's just so delicious. And these are the types of pens that don't disappoint. However, Aurora is disappointing me. I had bought a Aurora Optima Nero Grigio. It's kind of a marble gray and black pen that I sent out for repair months ago. I'd gotten it through Atlas Stationers, sent it back to the distributor of Aurora. It's been months. I haven't heard from them. I don't know what's taking so long, but that's very disappointing. I've got to write to the distributor and let him know that that kind of delay is just unacceptable. It's probably, I'd probably say that it's a good 4 months that I've been waiting for my pen. So I'll let you guys know what happens. Now, in terms of pens revisited, I want to mention my Schaefer got a couple of Schafers. This Schafer Targa, I really enjoy, because I'm trying to see if I could do a video on inlaid nibs. I'm not sure I have enough of them in my collection to for it to be worthwhile to do a separate independent video, but I'm working on it. And this is one of them. And I always thought that this nib just wrote just stupendously, but I could never find a converter that goes in there, nor a cartridge. And apparently a converter that goes with this Targa, people are charging stupid prices, and by the time it gets to me, paid delivery and etc., it's like 3 times the price. But then I found on Reddit, somebody suggested that I put in that the Kaweco, which is not a great converter to begin with, but at least it fits. The Kaweco converter would fit, and it does. It fits really nicely. So now I get to use it. Let's hope it writes now, and that it didn't dry up on me. No, it doesn't. Take a look at that. So this is the Slim Targa. Now, I still am confused as to whether or not they have a slim model and a regular model, and whether this is a regular model or a slim. It's got to be the slim, because it's probably one of the slimmest pens I have in my collection. But it's kind of vintagey. I had this pen since I believe I was in high school. And you know what? It just writes beautifully. But I could never use it because I couldn't find a cartridge or a converter that fit in there. Now I did. And given that I rarely use my Kaweco Sport Brass pen, you know what? Why not? So there you have it. The Targa. So that's one of the pens that I wanted to revisit. The other one was, not this one. Where is it? Yeah. This is the Schafer Imperial. And I was kind of disappointed in this pen. It just didn't write nicely, as everybody brags about. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to try to play around with that nib a little bit. And here is the result. Certainly much better than it was. It's a lot thick, wetter, and more consistent, less scratchy. It's certainly far away from the performance of a Legacy, which is this one. And this Legacy, along with the gold one that I had during the week, is just, it's on a different planet, completely different planet. Just a completely different writing experience. Very nice. Very, very nice, this Legacy 2. Don't regret. I got 2 of them, and I don't regret either one of them. Now, was there something else that I wanted to mention? Oh, yes. This pen, folks, the Sottobosco, and I had promised you a video during a week, a review of this pen. This is the Leonardo for a Momento Zero Grande 2.0 Sottobosco. For a pen maker that I've been really critical of in the last little while, let me tell you, this pen is worth every penny. In particular, that nib. So it kind of got bumped out of my rotation, the review, just because I knew that you were all looking forward to the review of the Asvine V800. So I think, there's a couple of Chinese pens that are coming in. Well, between you and I, they've already come in, but they're sitting right there, and I'm not going to show them to you. That may bump this one again, just because you guys seem to appreciate more the Chinese pens than some of these expensive Italian pens. But you know what? I need to show you the review of this beautiful pen. I think it's worth every single penny, and I'm glad I have it in my collection. So I thought I'd mention that it may very well go back into my rotation, and you'll probably see it this week, unless some other pen kind of bumps it away. So those are my pens revisited. And you know what? Stay tuned for the next segment. Okay, we're back with the next segment, which is the new currently inked segment. As I mentioned, I think from now on what we're going to do, rather than repeat, take a look at the same pens that we kind of looked at the week before, and it's kind of repetitive, and I agreed with some of the viewers' suggestions. We're going to change it up a little bit. So my currently inked now will be, my weapons for next week, essentially. And the theme for this week is, because I received both the Gravitas vacuum filler and the vacuum filler V800 from Asvine, I thought that that's a great theme for the week. We'll put together 12, or maybe I want to use that Rotring 600 ballpoint. So we'll choose about 11 vacuum fillers for the week, and we'll see what kind of choices I make. So let's go to my overhead camera. I'll show you quite a few of them that I have in my collection. Maybe they're not even all of them, but it's the ones that I, thought about first. So let's cut. Here they are. I've got quite a few. So there's more than 11 or 12 pens here. And so I've got to make some choices, okay? I can tell you right away that I'm going to be using both of these just because they're recently acquired, and, I want to play around with them, as they say. Let's enjoy them while they're fresh. So they're definitely going to go into my in my 11. I'm not going to choose the Opera Master or the Visconti, just because they've been chosen in one of my recent weapons of the week. So we're going to discard them. It's been some time since I've kind of written with my Pilot A23, so I'm going to add the Pilot A23 to the mix. In terms of Pilot A23, I want to compare it to my Wingsung 699. So I'm going to take the Wingsung 699, but in the red, with the red ink, so I could use that as my red pen for the week. So that's number 4. I haven't played around. I haven't been fair with Navlar or Norwal. This is the original Plus. I just don't like their nibs. But you know what? I'm going to give it a kind of another go at it. So we're going to add Narwhal. I think it deserves to be there. Same goes with this Twisby. With this Twisby Vac. It's been filled since I got it, and I've never used it. So we're going to give it a go. It's going to be an opportunity to rediscover a pen that I haven't used in quite a bit of time. The same thing goes with my Pen BBS 456. I think this is a gorgeous model, by the way, with this kind of matte gold finish. I haven't played around with this in a while. It's a Pen BBS nib in there, or maybe not. Yes, it is a medium. So we're gonna add that to the weekly grind. What else have I got? Yeah, this V169, which is kind of a forgotten vacuum filler. I'm going to add that as well. So what does that give us? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 3 more. What do you say, folks? Which one should I add to the picture here? You know what? I'm going to go for this Majon. Just because everybody else hates this pen, except me, I think. By the way, that short nib, and let me show you. Let me, just a second. And my apologies, because again, I said nib. I have this, I don't know what it is, but I keep mixing up nib and clip. That clip, which a lot of people have criticized, the same clip I think you can see in other pens. I think I have one here, the C4. You see that short little clip? one of the viewers mentioned to me that, and I think it's been missed by, I haven't seen anybody else comment on that. You know, what's the story with this thing? And why, you know, and is it functional, not functional? And that the particular viewer, and I thank him or her for the comment, mentioned that he thinks it is just a reflection of the brand. Not the brand, but the kind of the logo. You see the Mahjong logo? And I think that he believes that clip is meant to mimic that Mahjong logo. And you know what? I think he's right. Now, do we see that same logo on the nibs? Yes, we do. You can see it on the nib as well. You see there? So I think it's an excellent observation on that part. It's just meant to reflect their logo. So you know what? Chapeau, chapeau. So there you have it. We're going to be adding this one. Where are we? 3. That's 9. I've got 2 more. 2 more. What else? Oh, you know what? I haven't used this Trammel in a while. Vacuum filler. Kind of a mini Opus 88. Slimmer and shorter. And we'll add my Natami as well. And I think I've got 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 plus we shall add this to the mix as my ballpoint for the week. And there you have it. So those are my choices for the 12 writing instruments currently inked for next week. We're going to set up my notebook and we'll do some writing. Okay, so let's do some writing with these currently inked. First one is this Natami Warship. No, this doesn't post, so. Spaceship, warship, forget what the exact name is of this pen, but it's very nice, light, and as you've seen from my opening market information, Natami appears to be on the rise. They've got a lot more pens out there, so very nice. I got to tell you, this is a fine nib, but very smooth. Good writer. And wrote right out of the box, so to speak. I haven't used this pen in months. In fact, all of these pens, except for 2, and I'll mention them in due course, it didn't write right off the bat. This is the Trammel. I call it the vac filler. I'm not sure there's a number or a name to this pen. It has a Bach fine nib, which I don't like, because talk about stiff as a nail. Well, it's probably one of the worst nibs in my view, the Bach fine nib, just because it is a nail. You can nail a wall and put your picture frame hanging on it. This, of course, is going to be the Asvine V800. So we've seen this one before, just earlier. I'm going to put fountain pen excellence, in my view. So we've seen that one. Let's look at this pen BBS. We'll see if it writes. This is the a little dry pen BBS 456. Let me just prime it in some water here. Let me see if it writes any better. Not much better. And it is open. Yes, it's open. So I'm going to have to do something to it just to get it going, because otherwise it's not going to be used very often. This is the master. So again, I'm having a hard time figuring it out, but yeah, I got to hold it up a little bit. Can't hold it too low. Monster. That's me. This broad is just, whoop. I guess I have to open it. Yeah, it's shut. Maybe that's why. There we go. See how quickly the ink got there? Which is not the case with friends at Asvine, unfortunately. I'm starting to see some slight dislikes in my Asvines, which is rare. This is the Pilot Custom 823. It's a broad, but it writes like a thick medium broad, I would say. But this pen, a lot of people don't like this. The fact that this is exposed to chipping, etc. But if you're careful, I think it's a pen that just never lets you go, never lets you down. Speaking of letting down, we'll see if this narwhal, when I tried it earlier, because I had the feeling that this may not write. Okay, it's right. It's writing now, because I did have to prime it in water. This is the original plus. And it's got a stub nib. Not my favorite pens. This is a type of pen that's not any better than Chinese pens, but costs a hell of a lot more for no reason, in my view. This is the 823 clone, so this is the Wingsung. Whoa. Look at this. Haven't written with it in months. $6.99. I think this is Hiroshizuku ink, so very nice. Whoa, I'm going to have some fun with it this week. Very nice. What have I got next here? Oh, the VAC. This is the TWSBI VAC. What is it? VAC 700R? Is that? This is another pen that I had to, unfortunately, it was full. I hadn't used it. I had to prime it in water. Another pen that I think is much more expensive than some of these Chinese offerings and really doesn't give you anything more, in my view. The test tube pen that everybody hates, but that Vincent or Vincenzo loves. This is the Majon. Ooh, something's wrong with this nib. Majon V1, is it? It's not the original Majon nib. These are nibs that I bought from a third source. And it's a 1 point, no, is it a 1.1? No, it's a 0.09, I think, stub. But I noticed it tore into the paper, so those tines may be out of whack. I'm going to have to fix that. And what else have I got here? Oh, I think we can just fit this one line. We've seen the ballpoint showed that to you earlier, so there's no point in showing that one. But let's look at this V169 to see if it writes. Yeah, you see, I let some ink go through, but for some reason it's just not going all the way down. Let me see if I prime it. I gotta tell you, I don't see any ink in the water. That means I don't think it's any ink is going into that chamber. Let me just see here. Sorry. Oh, just barely coming through. Asvine V169. It's got a black. Is that at the 1.1? Let me just check. No, it's a medium Asvine nib. We're going to see what's up with this pen. Sorry about that, it's completely out of picture. But that's it. So that's what we're going to be seeing this week. Let me just set it all up for... Here we go. There you have it. Okay, they're all going to be the magic weapons for the week. Stay tuned for the next segment. I'm back just with maybe one additional Q&A. I mean, I'm planning my Q&A blog, by the way. We're going to get that sometime soon. I'm compiling quite a bit of questions to make it worthwhile. But one interesting question that I received in various forms, but essentially leading to the same thing, is from these pens, which is the Asvine Stablewood C200, the Asvine Ebonite C200, the C80, and the Vacuum, the brand new V800. Which one would I recommend, or which one would I prefer? I'm not going to give you the answer to that question. I'd like you guys to weigh in on that. Every year, as you may know, I put up at the end of the year, the Academy Awards. And I've got all kinds of categories, best Chinese pen, best Italian pen, best this, best that. I wear my tuxedo, a nice big splash, beautiful intro videos to kind of announce the contestants, and then we declare winners. So I'm not gonna spoil that, but I thought that I'd like you guys. These are all 1.1 stubs, by the way. This is the Asvine C200 wood. And of course they all have the stub, okay? That's one. The second one is the Asvine C200 Ebonite. Now I'll let you in. I think I've mentioned this already. There's something wrong with this nib, but whatever is wrong with it is making it write so nicely. First of all, it's got a lot of spring to it, very soft for some reason, and the tines are just a little bit off, which gives it just a tiny bit of kind of sailor-like feedback. And with this ink, which is the Hongdian, what is it, blue-grayish or grayish-blue, which is such a wet ink, as you can see. It's a little bit unfair, and it's really just because there's an anomaly that is making this pen. And look at this ebonite. I mean, I got to tell you, I think I'm going to get all colors in this. I'm just waiting for the price to go a little bit down. There's still just too much. Then there's this thing, which is just a monster of a pen, okay? Which is the Asvine Again, it's got the same ink, C80. And it's got that Hongdian grayish blue, I think it is, or bluish gray. Probably this ink, along with Scribble Blue Capri, are amongst my best inks of the year. Really, really nice ink. Look how dark, and it's got some shading, lighter blues, and it's got some gray in there. It's like a blue-black, but very interesting ink. And then, of course, we have our new edition, which is the Asvine V800. And I'm not going to, you've seen this in this green color. Which pens, or which one would you prefer when all is said and done? Cartridge converter, cartridge converter, cartridge converter, vac. I think we need another monster here that is a piston filler, and we can, talk turkey. Maybe they have another surprise for us. We shall see. But very difficult choice, I got to tell you, amongst these four. All great, great pens, greatly priced. But what's your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Let me know. We'll see. We'll take a little poll. Just in your comments. Just give me one of the three, or one of the four, in fact, because this is a little bit different than from that, okay? And it's a lot more expensive, this ebonite. But is it worth that extra $30, $40, okay? So there you have it. Thought I'd take time to ask that question for you, and let me know. Let me know. Okay, so we're back for a YouTube review. What have I got for you? Well, first of all, in terms of other reviewers, I've got three videos that I think are worthy of mention, or that I'd like to mention. Hats off to Chris Rapp 52. He compares the P140 and the P141. Always interesting. I find him to be, in French we say le doyen, the dean, if you will. He's been around for quite a while. A Chinese pen expert, in my view. Always interesting to hear Chris Rapp 52. Especially in this comparison, we all might learn something. So there you have it from Chris Rapp 52. Secondly, my I think it's Korean friend, Stationery Store. Not that I've reached out to him, but I'm just enjoying his videos because he reviews, mechanical pencils and roller balls from Japan. Some very interesting offerings, sometimes even before they come to the Western market. So he reviews the Stettler 925/85. Apparently it's a revival of that writing instrument. Very, very interesting. So heads up for that. And then my friend Matthew at Wet Pen. He just always does beautiful, beautiful videos. He reviews the Eureka pen. I mean, I like to listen to the gentleman, whatever he reviews. These Eureka pens, unfortunately, are just never around. Every time I go on that site to try to see if I can find anything, everything's sold out. So, very limited. You almost have to reach out to him and have him make the pen and wait months. Very frustrating because he's got some gorgeous pens you'd like to get your hands on right away. But look, you got to be patient. He's got some of those Eureka nibs, which are very, very interesting. So I thought I'd shout out to my friend Matthew at Wet Pen. So there you have it in terms of other reviewers. So in terms of my own review, well, you have the review of the V800 Asvine. By the way, there's all kinds of reviews out there. Fontaine de Plume has got one. Teresa Harris has got one. Chris Rapp has got one. There's many reviewers who are reviewing the V800, the Asvine. I think we're finally getting them to pay attention. Even some of the non-traditional, some of those reviewers that never touched Chinese pens. All of a sudden, Asvine is in the picture. Asvine is in the picture. So there you have it. Plenty of reviews. You want second, third, fourth opinions are all out there. So my V800, of course, is there as well. You have my last week's recap. In terms of next week, we shall see. We've got that Lemon M8 pen that's right there. that I might want to review for next week. Or, you know what, I've been bumping away my Sottobosco from Leonardo. That may very well show up. And who knows, maybe the Gravitas Monster might show up. There's our 3 reviews. At least 2 of them are done. You can see them in my thumbnails. And the Lemon M8 is coming up. So we shall see which one will make the rounds next week. And maybe you'll get 2. Maybe you'll get 2. So there you have it, folks. That's this week for this weekly recap. Thank you for joining me once again. Please subscribe. It will help the channel. If you have, I want to get your comments. I'm building the Q&A blog series, and the more comments I get, the more questions I get, the better it is. So we can make maybe 2 in a row. How does that sound? Good? Excellent. Have a good week. I'm enjoying golf, by the way. I've got 1 more month to go before November. Our club usually shuts down, unless the weather permits, early November, if we're lucky. It was a beautiful day out there today. Very, very cool, but sunny and autumn. Our leaves are turning. I had just a beautiful, beautiful day out in the golf course. So we're enjoying that month of autumn. Put it that way. Ciao ragazzi. Take care, folks. Be well and enjoy your pens.